Hello, my name is Brendan Anderson, and this is my presentation on the origins of Jingle Bells and how it contributed to minstrel theater and a racist culture. My presentation is called Not So Slay, and I'm here with five of my friends. You can't see them in the recording, but
I'm
they're
Susu.
around. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Stan.
And I'll just get right into it. So, I started this presentation thinking that Jingle Bells was originally a Thanksgiving song, and I learned that that was a misconception and that this song was written for minstrel theater. So, as an introduction, Jingle Bells, my introduction is about how Jingle Bells was a minstrel song. My general purpose is to persuade you that music should be understood consistently with its artistic intention. So, Jingle Bells has become a Christmas song over the past few years. And by past few, I mean like at the turn of the 19th century, really later on in like the 70s or 80s is when it became like super popular. But at its time of conception, it was not a Christmas song. And to continue to use it like so frivolously at Christmas time is to ignore all of the cultural significance of the song. At the end, so for a more specific purpose, at the end of my speech, y'all will be able to understand how Jingle Bells was written for minstrel culture, not for Christmas, and why this matters. And so, more generally speaking, I feel that too often in human history, various cultural details go unknown, like the origins of various cultural details go unknown to general publics, and this leads to lingering systemic issues like racism. For example, the phrase rule of thumb comes from the size allowed for whipping slaves, and the term master bedroom also comes from slave culture, like the master would live in the master bedroom. So these are just two examples of how very common phrases still linger in culture, like Jingle Bells, but in an expression form instead of in a song form. And so as an audience member, you might not have considered how the origins of this jolly Christmas song are racist, but in becoming informed and like becoming aware of the origins of certain aspects of culture like Jingle Bells and like racism in music, you can make more mindful decisions when listening to music. And I'm qualified to tell you about this because I have done a lot of research on it. I've done a lot of research on literature and historical context. And I also shared the experience of being ignorant to the fact that this song has racist origins. So I went into this project, like I said, thinking that that Jingle Bells was actually written for Thanksgiving and that it was commonly misconceived to be written for Christmas. But that is also a misconception. So my thesis is that Jingle Bells was written by its original lyricist as a minstrel song with the purpose of engaging in satire based off of racial stereotyping against black people, and it became associated with Christmas after its conception. So a little bit of proof as to how it was, or as to like its conception for minstrel theater. It was published by James Lord Pierpont in 1857, and the original title was One Horse Open Sleigh. I have a picture of the original transcript, and it was dedicated to the owner of a minstrel theater by this songwriter who was known to already support the Confederacy during the Civil War. And that minstrel theater owner's name was Johnny Pell. John P. Ordway, and the song debuted at Ordway Hall. The first performance had Johnny Pell in blackface. This isn't Johnny Pell. I couldn't find a picture of Johnny Pell in blackface, but this is just how blackface would look in popular public culture. And you can see that this is a white person taking on exaggerated physical features of a black person. And if you look at the lyrics of Jingle Bells or One Horse Open Sleigh, a lot of the individual lyrics resonate with slave narratives. So like they're like the people end up in a crash in like their sleigh that's filled too tight with too many people. It's very thematically, it thematically parallels like slaves coming over in ships during like colonialization. Um, so Thanksgiving associations began in the 1970s or 80s, according to Caroline Wazer, and you will actually find a lot of sources telling you that this association is true, but through her research, she proved that the first point in time when we associated Thanksgiving with the song was the 1970s and 80s when the song became popular like on TV, and there was a game show with a trivia question that said that the song was actually written for a Sunday school service for Thanksgiving, which is not true. It was written for a minstrel theater. Um, it was written before Thanksgiving was even considered a national holiday, so that definitely isn't true. So you might be wondering, like, why is American minstrel theater racist? What is that even about? So Britannica defines minstrel theater as an American theatrical form popular from the early 19th century to the early 20th century that was founded on the comic enactment of racial stereotypes. That's pretty self-explanatory, but some of the tactics that minstrel theaters would use would be caricature to ridicule, like blackface. It would be many of the features of people in blackface would be exaggerated, like their lips would be made bigger, their nose would be made bigger. Different negative personality associations were made with white people in blackface to comment on black people, like greed and gluttony were a huge one. And all of these kinds of ridicule and ascriptions of negativity would lead to general dehumanization of black people. So the narrative was that black people were not people, they were stupid or animalistic, and these narratives were used to justify perpetuating racism, perpetuating slavery, and perpetuating brutality. And this also led to outgrouping, like the dehumanization's purpose was to create a separate identity from the white identity, from the phallocentric white identity. These various, like many minority groups were outgrouped, but especially black people at the time. A few remnants in our culture from this type of minstrel engagement are examples like Aunt Jemima's syrup, which was created by a white person, I believe, to characterize the hospitable Southern black woman and to market off of that to grow into a global pancake company. We see examples like Mickey Mouse, who has the white gloves and the oddly black and white minstrel reminiscent face used to caricaturize and ridicule black people as well at the time. And we see remnants like fat phobia. The media pushes skinniness and muscular bodies as like attractive, when fat phobia was at its origins was used to perpetuate this idea of gluttony in black Americans, especially black women. So what came of Jingle Bells? Well, it became a Christmas song instead. It's sort of unclear how this started, but according to Brown, a historian, this happened decades later after it was performed on Washington Street at the Minstrel Theater. The first associations are unclear. I did a lot of research and really couldn't find anything definitive, and Wazer in her work also couldn't find anything definitive. But this really became popular in parlors and universities in the 1880s, which is about 25 years after its conception. And in these contexts, it was associated with Christmas. And then it was first recorded on an Edison cylinder, which was its first form of recording in 1898, and became associated with the Currier and Ives branding. And this became known as the first Christmas recording, even though the song was conceived as a minstrel theater song. Um, and here's like an example of Currier and Ives depicting the scene from Jingle Bells on their Jingle Bells branded bells. So why does this all matter in association with with all the points I made? Well, we can be, if we know that this song was written for minstrel theater, that it became a Christmas song much later, and that minstrel theater was a racist conception, or was a racist tool in America, we can be more mindful in our actual interaction with the song. Um, it's likely not going anywhere, it's very popular, but listeners can know that the art engages with a culture of covert racism. Um, we could possibly phase the song out of our holiday associations over time, but really becoming educated and knowing uh, is like is a huge step in change. Um, you know about the origins of Jingle Bells, and you know its association with minstrel culture, and how this culture is racist, and how it became associated with Christmas after its conception. So you can fact check common people, you can inform others, and you can be mindful about your use of this song in whatever context you listen to it. And on a broader level, racism has permeated culture for so long that many of its effects linger because seemingly inconsequential examples of racist roots are never brought up, they're never eradicated, or they're never like kept in mind, and we get systemic results of racism every day. Every day we like nothing. We have change, but nothing really goes away. So this is just one step in a greater picture. This is one piece of a greater picture. But when we educate people about art, and when we educate people about engagement with art, they should be aware of the historical context that produced the art, and they should be aware of why those historical contexts are no longer our current reality, and how to prevent them from coming back. So here's my works cited, and here's the images I used. Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
What's your question?
So, Jingle Bells, the term Jingle Bells, is that the originality is that racist? And does that mean that Jingle Bell Rock is also affected by this?
So, the original title is One Horse Open Sleigh, but the
Right.
lyrics off of the first sheet of music, a lot of the music got lost. But off of the first sheet, it starts the exact same way. It's, how does Jingle Bells go? Like, I can't remember.
Bells,
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh
Yeah.
over the fields we get. That's all the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
So they used this depiction of a sleigh crash in blackface with exaggerated features. So like, Jingle Bell Rock is just. I mean, I don't think the intention there is racist, and many people who engaged with Jingle Bells later only knew it to be a jolly Christmas song. The lyrics don't really indicate that it was used in this minstrel context, so
Right.
there's nothing like directly problematic with the lyrics themselves that then became problematic. It's more the conception of the song and how it was used. So like, I don't know. That's a very complex issue.
No, I get that.
What's your question?
Is there any correlation between the minstrel theaters going on during like holiday seasons or anything like that that could be associated with the Christmas time, or was that something that they were putting on during big events like that, high traffic times?
So I'm not actually sure. I imagine that the holidays would bring about like a greater need for entertainment. I did read that minstrel shows were generally considered to be like between shows, so it might have been like they had the Jingle Bell special between Christmas productions or something like that. But yeah, I imagine that the higher volume of audiences would contribute to like more more minstrel culture. And generally, like, Christmas in America is pretty consumer, and consumer culture is rooted in colonialism and capitalism and white centricism. So there's a lot of ties to be made there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Yay.